Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1308, written by EtherGorilla, the Eerie Tall Man. I was 17, and the oldest of 4, and lived on the far end of the house next to the garage. I liked it over there because it was quiet and dark, and I had space away from everyone else. When I slept at night, I'd occasionally leave my door half open to let the light from the laundry room shine a light into my own room. Kind of like a nightlight. One night, I did exactly that around 10 p.m. and cozied up into bed. From the orientation of my bed, I would actually face the door laying down, and there was no other way in or out of my room. I hadn't quite closed my eyes yet, when my bedroom door slammed closed. I didn't think much of it. I actually thought my brother was playing a prank on me. At this point, I should say that when the door is closed, I could see absolutely nothing in my bedroom at all, and this was before cell phones, so I couldn't exactly shine anything to see what was going on. I said something like, "Not funny, Eric," thinking that he was on the other side of the door playing as a prank. As soon as I finished saying that, I heard loud crinkling of paper. If you grew up a few decades ago, it's the same type of thick paper that you used to get from grocery store bags before they switched to plastic. You know how if something is loud enough in a closed space, you can kind of triangulate exactly where it's coming from? It was just like that in the center of my room. It lasted about 4 to 5 seconds. Now, I'm starting to sweat bullets and kind of praying that it's my brother just really committed to a joke. About 15 to 30 seconds pass of dead silence, and I muster up the courage to jump to my feet, rush to the light and flip it on. There was absolutely nothing on my bedroom floor that could have made that sound. I checked under my bed and in the closet for Eric, and nothing. I marched out to the other side of the house, and all my siblings were asleep in their beds. I asked everyone the following morning if they had closed my door, and none had. Could never quite explain what happened. But several other eerie things happened at the house over the next few years, the most eerie of which was to my sister, who complained of the tall man that would visit her at night through the walls. Gives me goosebumps typing it out even 20 years later. Case file number 1308, the Eerie Tall Man. Okay, so very clearly, there are entities and beasts out there, even people, humanoid creatures, that are extremely terrifying. And I think it's clear from so many stories I've read that these entities are not isolated to this universe. I think if you think about it, we have multiversal crossovers all the time. We don't know why. Maybe space-time portals or something, so in any given location they're more prone. But the exact reason, we can't detect these space-time portals until we enter one. And we don't detect it besides being in a different place. It's not a one-way trip. It's not like this is the original universe, the one we're in now, and everything flows out from it. No. Things can come into this universe too. And if there's a Googleplex of nearly infinite other variations of universes, everything that could possibly happen has happened in a different universe. The dominoes flow differently from each different event. Well, who's to say what's out there in those other universes that could infiltrate here? I think this could be a relation to Bigfoot, maybe even aliens. Maybe there are no aliens in this universe here, but in other universes there are. That could explain why they just blip out of existence. Maybe they're even able to willfully travel between multiverses. I don't know about that. Maybe it's never something we can control, but just to say, this eerie tall man, I think really was there. And then he wasn't, because he just went back home. Maybe that's even more terrifying, isn't it? Bonus file written by MC Such and Such. My dog detected something beyond our world. Many years ago, when my now 28-year-old daughter was still an infant, me, her, and our dog were at the apartment we were living in at the time. My wife was at work. I was sitting on the couch watching TV. My daughter was asleep on a blanket pallet on the floor, and the dog, a German Shepherd/Wolf hybrid mix, was about 10 feet away, laying in the doorway between our kitchen and the living room area. At any rate, I was watching whatever it was that I was watching when all of a sudden Thor, our dog, starts with this low-level guttural growling. I figured that he had heard someone in another apartment or walking by through the parking lot and didn't think much of it. A few seconds pass. I notice that it's getting louder. that he has lifted his head up off his paws, his ears were perked, and he's looking up at the ceiling over where my daughter was laying. I look up, don't see anything, tell him to knock it off. Right after I tell him to knock it off, he jumps up, starts circling my sleeping daughter, literally walking around the pallet she's laying on, and growling more and more intensely, even stopping once and outright snarling and snapping his teeth, all while staring up at the ceiling. After about 2 minutes of this, and me having no clue on what to do since I can't see anything, and I do not want to reach out for my daughter with him circling her like that, he laid down next to my daughter, rested his head on her back, and stayed there for almost an hour, still intently staring up at the ceiling and occasionally growling. To this day, I have no idea what the hell was going on or what he saw or sensed, but it was extremely creepy to me. Case notes for the bonus file. My dog detected something beyond our world. So similar to the other story, there are creatures around that probably aren't even from this universe, but from a different one that's trillions of quadrillions of light years away beyond the universe's void between the multiverses. There could be entities that are over there. And of course, via these portals that connect us, they could be here instantly. And I think animals have a very keen sense of this. Maybe dogs get a good sense of smell, because the portal opens first, and there are still molecules traversing it, I imagine. Like the atmosphere, the air would still flow between it. Whatever is in that place would be instantly detectable to dogs that have extremely heightened sense of the smell. So I think that's what it was detecting. Above where you were, maybe inside the actual roof, the ceiling, in the space between the floors. There could have been a portal there, and your dog was detecting that. Whatever was there didn't come through, thankfully. And I think that's probably the case. Most of the time, nothing does come through. Because you can't know it's there, so it's not like you can just... It's not like the Portal game, where there's portals that open up and there's a giant blue glow. There was only one instance, one story, of a person or a couple that was in New Orleans, and they saw an actual active portal. My guess is you only see them when they're very unstable and just about to close anyways. That's just a hypothesis, but I think it makes sense because in that story, it vanished very quickly. So I think in the cases where they're stable, you don't see anything. There's no energy being emitted from it because it's stable. So that'd be my guess. It would be something like that. Maybe just a spirit, but I think there's a lot of multiverse crossovers going on. Sometimes nothing comes through, but the whiff is still detectable by animals. Could explain why they freak out so much. Cats too. Bonus file written by GinaTRex. Postcards and Poltergeists. I used to work as an assistant in an old mansion that was converted into an art museum in New England. The basement and old kitchen quarters were turned into the museum shop, with back wings being more smaller galleries. The servants' staircase opened to a very narrow hallway that led towards the back room of the basement, or to the front of the shop, all beneath ground level. The stairs were locked from everyone except staff, and the only way to the basement was to enter from the outside courtyard through a door that was right beside the shop counter. In front of the counter was an old TV mounted in the upper corner that showed security cameras to the back galleries, but the camera switched only when motion was detected in the area. It's a late winter night. I am staying up late doing homework while the owners are in New York. The only other person in the building should be the house manager, who I know is working on the 4th floor. I am hanging out at the shop counter in the basement when I hear some noise in the back galleries. I assume it's a patron who is making their way out, but no one comes out from the hallway. So I call down to the back that the museum is closed, and I'd be happy to show them out the back way. No answer. But now the security camera starts switching to different empty galleries. Only slightly on edge, I pick up the phone to call up to my manager when, on the opposite side of the shop counter, a revolving card stand full of classic postcards starts slowly turning. I think the look on my face is more surprising than anything else. It's a heavy, old stand, and it takes some force to get it going. But when the turning of the stand abruptly stopped and began going the other direction, I noped right out of there. Case notes for the bonus file. Postcards and Poltergeists. Yeah, well, in this case, because there's actual mass being moved around from an invisible force, I don't think it's a portal, or at least nothing came through in that instant. I think it is probably just a spirit. Poltergeist, maybe. Poltergeist would be more prone to, maybe harm is the wrong word, just mischievous activity. but it can translate to more negative events. In this case, just moving around a stand that held postcards. Nothing too evil about that, although still disturbing, and I would have run away. I keep wondering, if anything like this happens to me, like right now I'm recording, what if the light bulb goes out or flickers and then comes back on? Or what if my chair levitates that's to the side? I sit on a different one, just so it doesn't block out the green screen behind me anyways. What if my computer started levitating or something like that? Or I hear a whisper or something along those lines that's really supernatural and creepy? What if it happened to me? How would I react? After reading all these stories, I would still be freaked out. So imagine people that don't read these stories or know anything about this and it happens to them. They would be peeing their pants, and I can't blame them. Can you? And now time for the quote of the day. Life is not the amount of breaths you take. It's the moments that take your breath away. Hitch. That's a very good movie, I have to say. I like that. I like how positive the movie was, and it reflects on how dating today is. This was still like a decade ago. I don't know how old this movie is actually. Anyways, it's about a man that is very charismatic. It's Will Smith playing the lead character. Anyways, he goes around helping people find dates and attract women and, actually form long-term relationships. Of course, it can be difficult. I think especially even these days. With online dating, it's an entirely different dynamic. Most people don't approach people in real life anymore. It can be hard to find a good place, like in the grocery store. Where else would I go, right? But to the quote itself, if we're alive and we're just in a room, doing nothing, with nothing to do, nothing to think about, nothing to experience, what's the point? That would be torture. If hell even exists, that could just be hell. Being conscious in a room with absolutely nothing to do or experience. You're alive. For life to have value, we have to have experiences. Not always new, but generally you want to have novel experiences and with other people. I've been contemplating just how important that is, even as an introvert. I've been watching a lot of reaction content. What's amazing is how I can rewatch things I've seen like 10 times and still enjoy it just because someone else is watching and reacting to it as well. Like the Harry Potter movies. I've seen them so many times and I have a ritual of rewatching them in October. But at this point, I've seen them so many times that I still get some magic from it, but so much more just by having someone else there. If you have someone new in your life, just experience things with them. Everything is better with friends, as they say. It really is true. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.